Namaste. To know the real self, that real self is here and now. That peace and happiness, love and wisdom are all present here, and they all are one. It is the same knowledge of the real self becomes love. It is the same love that manifests as wisdom. The same wisdom manifests as a peace. We need to recognize it. We need to recognize it. The entire journey of the Eastern wisdom says, declare yourself that you are the peace and happiness. Why to declare? Because we are that. But what happens? The mind lives in ignorance and it forgets that. The way we forget the entire world in deep sleep. Don't you exist in deep sleep? Yes, we exist in deep sleep. Don't we exist in the dream? We enter into a different world. And we do not recognize. So we are neither the sleep, we are not the dream, we are not the waking state, we are beyond all that. You cannot say that you do not exist in sleep, you do not exist in dream, you exist in waking state. The problem is that in a waking state we don't know anything about the dream state. In a dream state we don't know anything about the sleep. We don't know anything about the sleep. So that is the problem, that I don't know my entire life and the purpose of the life. So when I say I don't know, it is all about ignorance. It is all about, I can say I don't know, so let me know it. So that we can realize who we are. It is not knowing anything in the world outside, it is knowing myself. So I cannot know myself the way I know my house, my car, my friends, my relations, my son, my daughter. So science is also a branch of knowledge. Science is, and Eastern wisdom is also a branch of knowledge. Only thing is that the science knows the entire world outside, and the Eastern wisdom knows who we are. Science knows what is real and what is unreal, just for the sake of understanding. We already know. Is this a car? No. We know it. The same way. Is this body me? No. Is this breath me? No. Is this crazy mind me? No. But the problem and the challenge is that we already have a wrong notion about ourselves. I am body, mind, breath, intellect, and ego. We already have a lot of wrong notions. So, in order to remove that wrong notion, the Eastern wisdom works what is real, what is unreal, and what is false. Unreal, we know it does not exist. Real, we say it ever exists. And the false exists between the real and the unreal. Our mind is saturated with experiences of the false. How can you say? Do you see the mirage water at a distance? You see the mirage water. It is our experience. When you approach near, it does not exist. So the false means that appears to exist, but it is not. Do you see the earth is, do you see the ground? Yes, that ground is the earth, and I experience it is stationary, but it is not. It is moving. You see, it is our experience. It is not moving, but the knowledge says it is not. It is not moving, but the knowledge says it is constantly moving. Experience says mirage water exists because I see it. But the knowledge says it does not. I see a person and label that person as a husband and a wife. That husband and a wife do not exist. The man and the women exist. It is so much easy. But in order to drop and negate and reject what is false constantly, we need to follow it. And to follow means that our mind should change from the impurity to the purity. Or we can say we should learn something that is very easy to recognize. There were two diamond merchants. One merchant died, and that died merchant's son. That died merchant's son opened the box because the merchant told his son that whenever I die, you have to open the safe, and I have kept a gift for you. So the first thing he remembered, and he opened the box, safe, he found a box, he opened that box. So there was a very glowing piece, a pierced diamond, glowing piece, sparkling. The moment he opened, he found that it is glittering with a message. And the message was, you go to my friend who is also a diamond merchant to find out how much this glittering object cost. Well, it's just a simple question. That is how the Eastern wisdom starts. So the son went to the diamond merchant and he showed the masses and also the glittering object. The diamond merchant said that you have to undergo a training. I'm not going to tell you if this glittering object is what, how much it costs, where you can sell. We find the glittering in the world. You know, there is a proverb, all that glitters is not gold. Because I like pasta, so that glitters, that gives me a pleasure. But after some time, I don't like pasta, all that glitters is not gold. I buy a new car, I drive for about a week, and then I am awake and I forget about it. So all that glitters is not gold. You did the renovation. What? How many times you remember now? It has been a thing of the past. All that glitters is not gold. problem is that all that glitters is not gold frustrate me. Why it is not glittering now? Why I am not excited now? Why I don't get the pleasure now? From the same pasta, from the same car, from this. Are you getting it? So, anyhow, the diamond merchant said that I will train you in examining, in testing, in polishing, in knowing the value, how to calculate the value of any diamond. But I don't know about this object that glitters. Diamond merchant trained him. Now it has been a year. His excitement continued. So diamond merchant said to the son that now you are ready, you are an expert. Bring that box. Check it, examine it. Let me know the value. So the son examined, tested for an hour, returned to the diamond merchant, and he said it's a piece of a glass which has been shaped like so that it glitters like a diamond, but it is just a piece of glass. It is not worth even a penny. Diamond merchant said, you have become a diamond that recognizes the value of each and everything. Eastern wisdom makes us a diamond. So we recognize what is false, what is real, and what is unreal. So that person who is a seeker naturally sticks to the real. Can you get attached to mirror's water? Answer is big no. Can I detach to the mind? Can I remain attached to the mind that is seeking pleasure? No. For that realization, we need to treat this path. All that glitters is not gold. So a person who finds the objects of the world outside glitters, they will not treat the path of the Eastern wisdom. It is not for them because they are not curious. They are enjoying their life. They are get frustrated. They have a pain. They manipulate. They do everything. They are non-seekers. The last session, we did the practice. One stage was totally passive. We did not do any step. It was just an awareness. The way we recognize the mirage water is a false, it does not need any effort, it needs an understanding. Same way, the first step, the first stage of that practice, it was a non practice. You are just aware. You recognize, you retain the knowledge, you realize what is false, and you are absorbed into peace and calm. Can I live? Can I live into that state all the time? The journey of the Eastern wisdom is done. But I find it is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because I have done the practice, I have received the knowledge, and I have realized the knowledge. The next day I forget it. The same word glitters again. That is forgetfulness. I miss that. I miss that awareness. So the moment there is a sense of forgetfulness, then the mind starts thinking, I'm not focused and I have this problem and I have that problem. It is so easy, yet the mind falls into unconsciousness, it forgets, and then it starts blaming and complaining. And then we ask the teacher how long it will take. If I say 1 million years, what is your answer? And if I say even not a fraction of a second, what is your answer? Not even a fraction of a second, because it is already within us. We forget it. You forget, then the mind creates a wrong notion. It blames and complains. No, I'm not able to focus. The moment the mind says, I'm not able to focus, tell the mind better. I'm into anxiety, better. And then become aware. Separate that anxiousness from you. Separate not being focused from you and see what happens. That only that fraction of a second is required, the way we recognize mirage water. I tell you one thing, we have no right to die before we discover who we are. Buddha spent more than 7 years. My master says that he spent another 10 years. No doubt many other masters instantly, within few weeks, they realized, they heard it, their mind was pure, they received, retained the knowledge, they realized the knowledge. So we have no right to die. Why I am saying so, we do not have a right to die. That is what we have been living our life, days after days, in short-term pleasure converts into pain, with an attachment, with an anxiousness, with a duality and a conflict, and expecting a different result all the time. We are still living our life every day, and every day we expect a different result, but doing the same thing again and again. Can we expect a different result doing the same thing again and again? So, is it not animal, impulsive, habitual life? Don't we have a free intellect to think, to not only to think, but to receive and retain the knowledge? Yes, we have. That is why I said we have no right to die before we find out who we are. Understand the, the very nature and the functioning of the mind. There was a trained musician who went to a master to learn the next level of music. So the master tested him, and master said that, okay, I will charge you $100 a session. And the deal was done. Soon the deal was done. Another young guy also entered into his school. He also wanted to learn music. So the master asked, did you learn anything about music? He said no. So a trained guy who already knows a lot about the music, was charged $100 per hour per session. And this guy who doesn't know anything. The master said, I will charge you $100 for 25 hours in a month. So it's $100 per month. What? The trained young guy said, this is injustice. I already know about the music, and you are charging me $100 per session, and you are charging him who doesn't know anything $100 per month. Why? Problem is we always want to know the answers. So the master said, I have to work hard on you. Why I have to work hard on you? I have to make you unlearn what you have already learned. That has created many wrong notions about this music. I have to work hard too much on you. But this guy doesn't know anything, so I have to start. So I will start with what is right. So I need not to work hard so much. Our master says that since our childhood, the way we are brought up and the way we have been heavily conditioned by the society, by the world outside, by our parents, by the religion, we need to unlearn that. If we do not unlearn, this knowledge will not be settled completely. That is why you see, I have seen many people. They join, they remain with me for a year, and then they leave. Why? Because what they have learned from the society in terms of the false which they claim is real. So their mind is not able to accept that. Why? It glitters. Internally, they intellectually know it is not gold, but still because it glitters, so they return to the same habit, same impulsive nature, same false sense of pleasure and happiness in the world. He has returned back, but almost 25 years back. He is an engineer. Another problem that pops up in our mind, that our mind gives a wrong interpretation of these simple and easy to learn principles. I told you the example of this trained musician. So what happens? So this guy, it's a real life story. So I was speaking about that. I was just speaking, gave an example of a mirage water, and then I brought that example that you have to see that your husband or a wife is a label on the man and the women. Parents is a label, sibling is a label. You cannot find husband, wife, sibling, mother, father, daughter. You are a daughter to someone, you are a mother to someone, you are a sister to someone. So these label changes, but when you get attached to it, so I was just speaking about real, false, and unreal. He went to his home and he told his wife that you are fake, you are false, and allow me Now you should not disturb me in my meditation. The next day, his wife called me. This is what happened to him. He has went to you, he heard it, and now he says that I am not related to anyone. When you see the mirage water is a false, do you go out in the street and start speaking through the mic that mirage water is a false? This is what happens with lot of people. But what was the mistake? I recognize the mirage water is false. How do I recognize? Inside my head. Do I go out into the street and speak about it? So what was the problem? He spoke out outside. But why he did it? Because his mind is focused outside. Why his mind is focused outside? He still have a wrong notion that the world gives him the pleasure. That is why he wanted, and he spoke that. Are you getting it? Knowledge is realized here inside. So when the knowledge is realized here and your perception changes, he is still your husband, so to say. But because your perception has changed, she is still your wife, your perception has changed. Because your mind do not treat the girl with label of the wife, but is a label of a woman, a girl. So what happens? Your mind has no problem. Mind does not enter into conflict. You do not start running towards the mirage water to grab a glass of water. So we had a lot of wrong notions about these labels where we find I will get the pleasure, I don't get it, so there is a problem. So these subtle things we miss even after listening, and that is why we are continuing the journey. We discussed that in maybe a month ago, that for example, I like pasta and pasta gives me happiness, so we have to examine if happiness is a property of pasta. Happiness is not a property of pasta. Pasta does not contain happiness. Same thing, nothing in the world, husband, wife, father, money, wealth does not contain happiness. Otherwise, the Bill Gates would have been the happiest person in the world. But at the same time, he made a statement that I lived loveless life for 27 years. Money glitters. But what glitters is not gold all the time. Like the young guy who underwent a training for about a year to test, examine, and know the value of any glittering object, and he realized it is just a piece of glass. So you don't fight with a piece of glass. You realize what is glittering outside in relationship with objects is not gold. So what happens? Your mind is not wandering now. Mind wanders because it subconsciously, habitually is constantly thinking about it. So, so, so it is constantly thinking. But unless my head inside is not clear that all that glitters is not gold, hold on, wait, let me check, examine. And the moment your mind lives into that awareness, the mind is not wandering. Mind is focused because it has nothing to do, so it is focused. I mean to say, it has nothing to do towards the false. Now, see the reverse. If the if my mind is obsessed with an idea, with a notion that only pasta gives me happiness, the mind will continue to wander. The mind will say, only the pasta can meet my hunger. There are other millions of foods that can meet my hunger. The hunger is not related only to the pasta. So what happens then? Then that in that state the mind keeps on wandering. Mind is not focused, it is distracted. So where all these experiences are happening, it is happening in the mind itself. So object is there in the mind that, for example, the pasta and all the previous experiences are there. So they mix up and they create a sense of false notion. No, I want pasta. Mind is the cause of the suffering. Not only we have to purify the mind so that its perception of the world changes. It recognizes what is real, what is false, what is unreal. So the way that merchant son learned the art, the expertise, the skill sets of recognizing, that is our journey. That is what we need to do it. So in that journey which aims at inquiring into our nature is known as the self inquiry. The way we inquire about other objects, so we can use it, not other objects, self inquiry. So, in that self inquiry, we need to ask ourselves every day in the morning you wake up, or you can simply say that I am the real self of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Am I asking you to believe it? No. I'm asking you to repeat it and then start working on it. So every day in the morning, you remember that I am real self, I am of the nature of peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. I know the real nature of the world that is constantly changing. Peace, happiness, love, wisdom are absent in the world. If my mind claims that this world contains peace and happiness, it will cause endless suffering because it's a false notion. And the third statement you can say that existence is nothing but the pure consciousness because I am conscious of you, of objects, of the world, so hence I'm consciousness. You start the day by remembering this. Did I say you to believe it? No, you don't believe it. But you remember it and then you work on it during the day to prove. Either you prove that it is wrong or you prove it is right. So when you prove it is right, that is known as awakening and realization. You prove that I am wrong. No, not I am wrong, but that this knowledge is wrong. So you will continue to suffer. That's why. That's why the master says our basics should be very clear. We should not distort these basics. And in today's lesson, we are just understanding one fundament: what is real, what is false, and what is unreal. First, the story of two diamond merchants. Second, the real life story of an engineer. So, listening and learning is very important. So, as far as listening and learning, and after listening and learning, you sit down with eyes closed and contemplate and reflect on it. What is contemplation, reflection? It is again the thinking. Teacher was thinking for you, listening and learning. Now you are thinking for yourself, that is contemplation and reflection, followed by the practice. If you feel that your attitude, your response, your behavior are changing, you are on the right track. You feel more calm, you get a good sleep. The journey is a shock absorber. It absorbs the shocks coming from the world in relationship, in different events and incident. You are already doing it. And it's a common sense approach. When we apply the common sense approach, we are wise. We don't need to be highly intelligent. To get admission in Harvard, our IQ should be very high. That IQ should be very high pertaining to the world outside. We learn a lot of manipulations. We keep our life with the wrong notion. Have you not heard the news that many of the Harvard students they commit suicide? When we have applied the common sense approach, we are wise. We never even dream of it. So the entire journey of the Eastern wisdom is nothing but a common sense approach. Since the beginning, I just talked about the common sense. We are learning the basics. We are understanding the basics. We are retaining the knowledge. And with that knowledge inside the head, my perception outside changes. The same person, my mind used to blame, causing me anxiety in the reaction, but now the same person, because I have a right knowledge here, perception has changed about that person. I need not to I need not to ask a person to sit with me and change your perception about me. When I change my perception, the thing is done. You are happy, your mind is not distracted, you are focused, you are natural, you are in peace. Why? No one outside can be responsible for our stress and suffering. No one is responsible for. You know why majority of the people leave the journey of the Eastern wisdom? They are curious, but that curiosity doesn't work until we are also have a clear understanding and the experience that this world continues to offer pain and pleasure. One time it will offer me the pleasure buying a new car, after a week I forget it, and maybe after a month some glitches takes place in the car I take to the service center. It says I will charge you $1,000. Pleasure converts into a pain. The mind keeps the same thing. So I am curious to know, to find the real self. At the same time, I do not want to learn from my experiences. That will not work. But if I am curious and I want to learn from my experiences, one of the major steps, then what happens? I recognize eat, drink, and marry is not my life. I have to go a little deeper. I have to find that peace and happiness, love and wisdom. I have to understand it. I must know the very nature of the world outside. So that curiosity, you can say that curiosity and that interest in your mind helps you to contemplate and think that how to start the journey. Then don't forget, every day in the morning you remember, that is your prayer, that is your 2 minutes of meditation. Where is that? You wake up in the morning with eyes open or closed, that I am the real self of the nature of peace, happiness, love, wisdom. The world outside, I see it is constantly changing. The world is not a part and a property and a product of happiness, peace, love, and wisdom. And then there is an existence of the nature of pure consciousness that is present both in the individual like me and individual and the world. So when I discover this real self or the existence, that state is known as awakening and realization. You have to simply, that is the best prayer, that is the best 2 minutes of meditation. So once you have done it, now you have a responsibility to live up to that by inquiring into it. You go to the office of work. You come out, you become aware of your house, in the car, and the pets, and everything. That is a word. The world is constantly changing. That is a fact. So, what is that word? The body is also a part of the body, is also changing. You see, Joe, you just wrote to me that one fish died. World is changing. Because it is changing, I should not get upset. You have taken all the extra care to save. It's okay. That is a part of the life. So means why after remember you recall what you said in a waking state when you wake up in the morning, and now you live up to that. You are doing an experiment. You are applying that. And then what happens? So once you have done it, so your mind is now naturally focused. You don't focus on it because you have remembered in the morning, and now your mind wants to live up to that. So when the mind still remains distracted, it means we are not a qualified seeker. We have to become a qualified seeker. I've given example of the driver 100 times. I have a driving license, two things. I have a skill set of driving and I know the rules of the road. Makes you a qualified seeker. My mind should be aware that this journey brings an end to the suffering once and for all, and it awakens me to peace and happiness. The mind has to move to in this direction rather than moving into the direction it has been doing for over years and years and years, expecting a different result. And then I have already discussed in detail. I should keep in mind what is real, what is false, and what is unreal. My mind is 100% clear. Whatever is changing, that appears real, but it is not. So that knowledge is already there. The same sense criticizes you on one day and appreciates you on the other day. Whom to rely more, on your mind or on that person? So every time you're living consciously, you are understanding that. So qualified seeker simply means that apply the common sense. I want to drink a cup of tea, so I go to the restroom. I don't go to the restroom. I go to the kitchen. Is it a common sense? Yes, I don't go to the bedroom. Is it not a common sense? So I separated the kitchen from the restroom from the bedroom. So that power of separation of what is right and good is already present in my mind, or to specifically say, in the intellect. But because my mind says all that glitters in the world is a gold, it has veiled that power of separation, which I call the power of discernment. So that is what I said, that the common sense approach. Is the sun reacting to me or making me upset, or is that person who is living unconsciously, habitually reacting to me? Tell me. And then that person is reacting to me, I understand, because of conditioning in the mind. Two. Third, how should I respond? Should I respond to this son or should I respond to that person? So that person is already living unconsciously, habitually. He's not going to listen to you at that particular moment. Now ask yourself how to respond. So the moment your process of thinking, like a common sense approach, goes, your mind is already at peace. Now you know how to deal with it. Power of discernment. So there is a power of discernment, separation. The moment we have a power of discernment, go back to the mirage water. You have a power of discernment. That is, your mind is thinking, it has separated. That appearance of the water is caused by the sun and the sand. So what happens? False is gone. You're not attached to it. So the power of discernment leads to a state of dispassion. Now you are normally, with a common sense, you are unattached. You live into that state of dispassion. So once we have that power of discernment and dispassion, we started with understanding of the diamond merchant sun. So we are inculcating, we are changing the mindset. Now we are perceiving the world differently. So what happens with the power of discernment and dispassion? We awaken the power of calmness, power of endurance, power of self awareness, which is already present in the mind. They are awakened, they live constantly, consciously with me. The frequency of any kind of the stress drops down. The intensity of the anxiousness and reaction, they also minimize. When they minimize, we recognize the power of the Eastern wisdom. That makes us the highest level of a seeker. So when we become the highest level of a seeker, only listening, learning, and doing the practice will help us to reach that knowledge. You should understand one thing very clearly, and I believe that you know it. You are listening and learning from a teacher. Teacher says you are real self. You heard it. That is the indirect knowledge to you. So unless you have a direct knowledge, which will take some time, it will not bring an end to the suffering. So, did you understand the indirect knowledge? I explained about a particular principle. Say, for example, I say you are the real self. That is the indirect knowledge to your mind. So, when you work on your mind and recognize and realize and declare that I am the real self, that is the direct knowledge. So, why it does not happen in a single you already told me, let me declare I am the real self. Okay, declare it. So when you declare I am the real self, do you see that it is happening? No, it is not happening. But why it is not happening? Because of the impurity of the mind. Because what is that impurity? Mind is heavily conditioned, which believes all the glitters are present in the world. At the subconscious level, even it is not at the thinking level, but the mind does not want to move inside. Now the weather is such that we can have a walk in the moonlight. I just remember. Where is that moonlight? Does the moon has a light? There is no moonlight. No, but we experience it. No, it is a reflection from the sun. The mind reflects like a moonlight and it keeps wandering into the world seeking peace and happiness, escaping insecurity, fear, and unhappiness, that needs to be understood clearly. Moonlight is, otherwise, there is no moonlight. Knowing the real self, applying the common sense approach. That is the last thing that I want to again repeat it. Common sense approach. Want to have a cup of coffee? I go to the kitchen, grab a cup of coffee. But at the same time, there is another common sense. If I am sitting in my room, so I go out of that room from the door, not from the wall. Common sense approach. The mind, in a fit of an anger, says, "You are responsible for my stress and suffering." Hold on. Where is the door? Let me go out. Let me recognize whether you are responsible for my stress or suffering, or the moment you say or, you enter into a common sense approach because you have already learned that no one else can be held responsible for my stress, pleasure, suffering, etc. Nothing outside. It is the way my mind perceives. The way my mind gives the interpretation. Where the interpretation is going on in the mind, it is inside my head. How the interpretation goes because of the lot of thoughts, of likes and dislikes, of attachment and detachment. So just for a while, you get rid of all these thoughts. What is left? Do you have anything to say to the person outside, to a situation outside? So that situation, that event, that person lives me inside my head only when I start thinking about them. So I stop thinking about what is false and what is real and what is unreal. I cease to become a seeker. I lose that awareness, you know. Again, the most important point that I remember, awake and aware. Awake means that we are in a waking state. Do we remain aware throughout our waking state? Tell me. We are awake but unconscious. We are awake but carried away by the unconscious thought. We are awake but we go with an attachment. So we are awake but we have lost awareness. What is that loss? Losing awareness? The mind says, forget everything, all glitters outside is a ghost. So what happens? We suffer. Many people ask me how long it takes. And I already given an answer. It takes a fraction of a second. But now understand. I am awake, one thing. Do I think, speak, and act with awareness all the time? If yes, my mind will never run after any attachment, duality, conflict, blame, and complaint. If no, that much time it will take. Thank you.